Hey everybody, this is Captain Fool reporting for duty, giving you my weekly comic book review. So sit back and enjoy. Alright everybody, for those of you that know the drill, I go over a bunch of comic books for the week that I chose to read. Now I didn't have time to read everything, so if I missed something you think I should have read, let me know in the comments below. Also, you may disagree with me on some of my choices. If that's the case, that's alright. Let me know below. Let's just try to keep it civil. My goal is to bring back the old schoolyard days, where we would be in discussing what hero could beat who or what comic book was good and not. And I come armed with my trusty notes, so you'll hear the paper rattle because I do it a little bit old school. I do my grading on a scale of 0 through 10, 7 being average as a 70%. So I'm using schoolyard grading. But that's not all. I also use the League of Comics Geeks to give you other people's views as well as a brief overview of the comic book as well. So let's jump right in. Well, thank you everybody for joining me for this weekly comic book review, and please be sure to leave your thoughts and things below in the comments, especially those of you that are mad at me. I love those comments where you tell me where I should shove my head and all that stuff, because you can't have a civil discussion, right? Now, you know what? It's okay to have disagreements, so let's have some fun with this. I want to take us back to the old schoolyard days where we could disagree with certain things, and that's what I hope we have here. So here we go. I want to start with Avengers issue number 15. League of Comics Geeks said 128 out of 136 liked it with a 4 average rating. I think I know why it's doing better. It's because it has Captain America on the cover. That's why. The writer is Jed McKay. The artist is Carlos Fabian Villa, and I probably butchered that. Now, I gave this book a 7.4, so not as high as they did. It says it's a bloody brawl on vampire-infested Hellcarrier. Captain America's ad hoc team of Avengers, old and new, must face a foe commanding an army of vampires. Yeah, it's in the sky. It's a good battle. The story is good on this one. And I like this team that's been assembled. It's nice to see some Hercules back. Though if you do notice, the covers of these issues of the Avengers keep showing Hercules in more of his classic outfits, where he's wearing something completely different in the issue. I don't know why that is. I sort of like the classic outfit. The art could be better, though, in this issue, but it is nice seeing some Hercules and some of these other characters on the Avengers team. This issue sucks, to be honest, though. Get it? Vampires sucks. Blood Hunt. That's actually not that bad. You probably go, why do you say it sucks? You give it a 7.4. Nah, it's all right. Pretty good issue. 7.4. Maybe I should make that the title of the video. This issue sucks. Or, yeah, that might work out good for the YouTube algorithm, if you will. But what can I say? Speaking of covers and things like that and issues, the issue Deadpool number 3. I thought the cover was a little plain. It does have some interesting alternate covers, though. Deadpool number 3, 96 out of 98 liked it with a 4.2 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave this book a 7.3. We have the writer is Cody Ziegler, and the artist is Raj Antonio. I thought the cover is just a little flat. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. But let's talk about what's inside. We have Deadpool vs. Crossbones. Yeah, in theory, whoops, I just hit my microphone. So sorry for all of you that hit that noise, heard that noise. We have Deadpool vs. Crossbones. Yeah, Deadpool vs. Crossbones. I like Crossbones. I think he's a pretty wicked character. And we have Deadpool and Taskmaster as well. Yeah, it's nice to see Taskmaster some more. They may be mercs for hire, but someone has hired Crossbones, another merc, to hunt them down. So we have merc versus merc in this issue. It's pretty good art, though, inside. It's a goofy but yet fun story. And it really, this is an interesting cast of characters. Overall, I think this is a fun issue. It's why I gave it a 7.3. There is some fun to be had. If you're a Deadpool fan, you probably like this issue. I don't see why you wouldn't. It's got a lot of coolness to it. You know what? Speaking of Deadpool, let's talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, World War II, issue number 2.
Phew, that's a big mouthful, right? 77 out of 82 liked it with a 4.1 average rating on League of Comics Geeks. Now, I didn't give it as high, which is normal for me. I gave it a 7.3. The writer is Joe Kelly, and artist is Adam Kubert, which Adam Kubert's known for his good, solid art. We have Survival of the Fittest here. Wolverine and Deadpool are caught in a snowy wasteland with no hope of survival, except for each other. What will they do? Well, it's good art in this issue. It really is a pretty good issue. We've got some good characterization, and there's a really sort of brutal scene here where you see Wade getting some food and eating, and you realize when you look at Wolverine that he actually cut out a section of his leg and cooked it to feed Deadpool. I mean, so we're resorting to cannibalism here, but it's sort of a cool idea because it's gonna come back, but it's still cannibalism. So Marvel eats their own. Oh, that is pretty crazy. But if you like Deadpool and you like Wolverine, you're probably gonna like this.
Hey guys, today's video is sponsored by My Wallet. Yeah, I'm not trying to push any kind of wallet or pimp any wallet out. What I mean is it's sponsored by my personal wallet and the cash that comes out of it to pay for these things. If you want to help with this, you can hit like, subscribe, that notification bell. Those are great ways to get started. But if you find yourself in a position where you can help the channel more, we have a Patreon and a subscribe star down below that you can click on those links. And for as little as $1 a month, you'll have special videos and things to just you, music that you can get. Or maybe if you want to do a one-time donation just to help out, we have a Streamlabs link down below. Or we also have, if you go to the Patreon shop, you could buy a song for like $3. I wish I could put them a little lower, but that's the minimum they allow for that. So there's lots of options. Sometimes you might even see an Amazon link. If you want to buy anything through Amazon, click on my link first, then go through there. That'll give me a couple pennies, possibly that way too as well. So there's lots of ways you can help out the channel, because without you, it would not be possible. So thank you everybody, and let's get back to the video.
Next one I want to talk about is Blood Hunt issue number 3. Yes, the event right now going, which usually I'm not a big fan of these events, but I'm actually not too against this one. This one's, in my opinion, pretty good. And it seems like League of Comics Geeks agrees with me, with the people voting there, with our 134 out of 145 liking it with a 3.9 average rating. Now, I gave it a 7.2. But that's just me. Once again, I tend to go a little lower than the overall average. Maybe it's because I'm a lot older and have more history with comics than the average person, you know. That's not a derogatory comment. I'm just saying I'm old. So anyway, we have the writer Pepe Larraz, which he's also the cover artist, if I recall there. And, you know, I don't know who the main artist was. Did he do the main art in this book? I'm not sure. But that said, anyway, I'm not a big fan of the cover art. It was okay. Nothing terrible, though. It really is. It says, "The night has fallen. Will the sun rise again?" As the heroes rally at the Sanctum Sanctorum, they must first deal with the threat close to their hearts. And while they raise the torch of defiance, the new Lord of the Vampires enacts his dreaded scheme. I thought this book has good art overall, though. Whereas I gave it a good 7.2, so it's middling, which is I get from the story. The story is better than I expected, though, and it has some pretty good characterization. But one of the knocks I did that got this down to a 7.2 is the story progression. It was really slow in this issue. It really didn't move the story forward, in my opinion, much. And I think pacing is essential in a comic book series to keep you wanting to read that next issue. When you read through an issue, there should be progression. And in that progression should create you to have the drive to see what's going to happen next. So speaking about what's going to happen next in the Blood Hunt, let's talk about the Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt issue number 2. Yeah, it's another miniseries, but this one focusing on Amazing Spider-Man, where 60 out of 75 liked it with a 3.4 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave it a 7.2. Not as good as the last Blood Hunt issue we were just talking about. The writer is Justina Ireland, penciler is Marcelo Ferreira. So once again, if I butcher names, there's no meanness intended there. It's just I can't say names. Spider-Man and the Lizard need to save Morbius, the living vampire, if the heroes of the Marvel Universe stand a chance at stopping the vampire. Yep, but does Michael Morbius actually want to be saved? That's a good question. This issue has pretty good art. I thought the cover is pretty awesome. The story progression, though, is a bit slow. That's one of the issues I've been seeing with this, no pun intended. It has good characterization, though. Cast of characters that are interesting, and I do plan to check out issue number 3, even though I don't think it's the strongest one in the Blood Hunt series. Now, this next issue surprised me. I didn't expect this. And that's the Incredible Hulk number 13, where 103 out of 108 liked it with a 4 average rating on League of Comics Geeks. And you know what? It gets a high score. I didn't give it quite as high a score, but this one I gave a pretty high score too, with a 7.7. I was quite impressed with this. The writer is Philip Kennedy Johnson. The artist is Nick Klein. It says, after smashing into the strange academy to save Charlie's life, Dr. Voodoo has sent the souls of both Hulk and Banner into an exorcist soul cage, where some of the most terrifying beings on Earth have been condemned for eternity. There, they'll seek Charlie's last chance for survival. Yeah, so they're going through all that, and I will say, I like the cover of this issue. It has some alternate covers, which I have a mixed bag feeling on those. But here's the thing, we get a Banner and Hulk team up. Yep, you heard me right. It's really, in my opinion, I like this art style for this particular issue. I don't know if I'd like it for all Hulk issues, but for this particular issue and this story direction, I think the art is really fitting. It's an interesting story as well. I quite enjoyed this issue. As I said, I didn't really expect to enjoy it that much because it's been hit and miss with the Hulk art and the story direction. But for some reason, this one I quite well enjoyed. And speaking about art that puts me on the fence, let's talk about Batman and Robin issue number 10, where 103 out of 110 liked it with a 3.8 average rating, where I gave this a 7. My rating wasn't near as high as theirs. The writer's Joshua Williamson, which I'm fine with, and the artist is Simone Di Mio, which again, if I butchered that, I apologize. We have unlikely allies against Man-Bat. Yep, we also get Shush in this issue. Man-Bat's plans have been unleashed on Gotham. The only person who can help Batman and Robin to save the city is, it's Shush. Can she set aside her hate for the dynamic duo and help? Really, that blurb there on League of Comics Geeks doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't see any hate for her with Damian, that's for sure. I think it's an interesting pairing, matter of fact. The art is okay in this, but here's the thing. With this artist's style, I found some panels, especially some of the earlier panels on the first few pages, were hard to follow, especially the smaller panels with a lot of action. But it is a good ending to this story arc. It was overall a decent issue. It's why I gave it a 7. I think the art could have been a little bit less busy, a little bit better, but that's just my thoughts. Now, next issue, I have to admit, I really think it's a good cover for this issue. There's some interesting alternate covers that are good for it as well, and that's Green Lantern issue number 12. I've been enjoying this series. 133 out of 142 liked it with a 4.1 average rating on League of Comics Geeks. I think it's pretty fair. I gave it a 7.7. As I said earlier, I usually go a little lower than they do, but I think a 7.7 is a strong score. Jeremy Adams is the writer, and artist is Xermanico. Sorry, dude, I have no clue how to pronounce your name. Having uncovered the truth behind the United Planets, Hal and the rest of the 2814 Lanterns desperately try to escape the hands of the United Planets Lanterns, the Ring Hunters and all those terrifying unseen. Yes, because they find out they've been taken over. Only a former ally gives Hal a chance of survival. But will they be too late to save him from certain doom? Plus, we get a Guy Gardner bogus logos adventure in this as well. I will say the main story in this is very good. It's had great art. I think the cover is really good on this as well. It's a nice, for those people that like Star Sapphire and Green Lantern together. This is a must read, I think, for Green Lantern fans. I really think you'll enjoy this. The overall story is very good. It really is. It's a story with depth. It has lore, and if you're a fan of the past history of Hal Jordan, this is definitely for you. But the secondary story is okay. It's silly, and the artwork could really... I guess it sort of fits with the silly story, but the artwork isn't anything great. And neither is the story, which is sort of doing Guy Gardner dirty. I know they like to use him in more cheesy, goofy roles, and I get that, but I think Guy Gardner deserves a little better. What do you think? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that part of the Guy Gardner section. That's why I brought the book down a little bit. The next one I want to talk about is Transformers issue number 9. Boy, have I been enjoying the Transformers series. 225 out of 228 liked it on League of Comics Geeks with a 4.5 average rating. You know what? I'm not far off on that one. I gave it an 8.2. I am really, really enjoying this series. I think it's been great. The writer's Daniel Warren Johnson, and artist is George Corona. And boy, these issues continue to have depth, have characterization, and have a lot of brutality. The war on Cybertron and Earth are converging in ways the Autobots and Decepticons never expected in this issue. It continues brutal fighting, and who is going to be able to purge Earth's resources to, help Cybertron? Will the Decepticons do that, or will the Autobots be able to protect Earth and maintain its resources as well as the people on it? It's another great issue. It's really good art. You could actually see the pain and fear on the Autobots' faces in it. So it was drawn very well with that. You look at it, it's like, oh man, there's fear and a lot of emotion in certain situations here. This is a must read, in my opinion, for Transformers fans. And if you're not a Transformer fan, this series might make you one. I'm really enjoying this. This is one of my definitely must read series that I think, honestly, if you're not getting this, you're really missing out. Now, normally this next one is a kind of book that I would just skip. Now, I don't normally go out of my way to get these giant size issues and things like that, because usually they're a bunch of sub stories that don't matter much. But I got giant size Daredevil #1. 42 out of 45, liked it with a 3.7 average rating on League of Comics Geeks. You know what? I gave this one pretty close. I gave it a 7.4. It actually surprised me a bit on that. The writer Salman Ahmad and artist is Paul Davidson. It says, sin will find you out. Daredevil. He's on the hunt. One of Daredevil's deadliest and most dangerous foes, empowered by forces unknown even to himself. Yeah, prepares for the kill. Yes, none other than Kingpin. Yes, Kingpin is going after Daredevil again, but there's something there. He's not alone. Will this have a tie-in with the current run of Daredevil? Probably, if something is after him. I think this book has some decent art. And I will say it's got a really good look into the Kingpin with a lot of brutality. It shows what Kingpin is willing to do. Now, I'm not going to review the reprint story because that story's already been done a while ago, but I'm just talking about the main story in here. And that's why sometimes I don't care for these, because if you're old like me, you probably already read that other story. So it's just paying extra for stuff that you already have and already read. But if you're a big Daredevil fan, I think you're going to like this, because I think it does a good job with the Kingpin and expanding on that. And the last one I want to talk about today is Suicide Squad Dream Team #4. 64 out of 70, liked it with a 4 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave the book a 7. Yeah, so once again, as usual, not as high as they do on average, but that's my views. The writer is Nicole Maines, penciler is Eddie Barrows, and yes, the person who's writing this book is the main character in the book, which is Dreamer. This is the final issue of this miniseries, issue 4. And what this really is a setup for the start of what's next, their next big DC event. That's really what this whole little miniseries was, is setting up countdown to setting up absolute power. So they called it a countdown to absolute power. As the Dream Team story reaches its climax, Dreamer and her Suicide Squad take on their one and only shot at preventing the future that she's predicted, in which Amanda Waller turns Gamora into her own personal alien super prison. Which, okay. Will Dreamer be able to save the day? Well, I think you should read that if you choose to. I honestly think this book has some pretty good art, and Amanda Waller, in my opinion, takes the win on this one in this issue, which I think is a nice spin to see, because rather than the good guy always winning, and especially here, I'm going to give the writer some credit, because usually when you get, I'm going to be honest, and I'm just going to probably get taken wrong, but when you get minorities or certain types of people writing books, they have to make themselves the most powerful, everything's terrible for them, whereas this writer did a pretty good job on the character going through problems and then getting to the end of the situation and didn't exactly win. So I'm going to give him some credit there. Amanda Waller shows what she is willing to do to win in this issue, and I think that's a pretty good job. I think it serves the story and serves as a lead up into absolute power. It's a setup for their story. Now, do you need to read this 4-issue miniseries? No, not really. I don't think it's going to have a major enough impact on the absolute power story, so this is probably a series that you can skip unless you're a huge Dreamer fan, and I know I'm not, but I mean, if you want to explore that character and all, this is probably the best the character's been written. So I'll give them that credit there where it's due. And that's what I read this week. What should I read? What did you read? How am I wrong? And what do you agree with? That's perfectly fine. And by the way, check out some of these other comic book YouTubers as well out there. Okay, there is a lot of great ones out there. Terry, we got Comics Boom. We also have some great video game ones with Wild Elf and things. Check their channels out. I always like to get a wealth of different things, and sometimes I know that's a detriment to my channel because it isn't focused on just one thing. And I could always go, it's a lifestyle channel. It's a personal interest. I try to do things that I enjoy. Otherwise, I'm going to burn out. If I just stuck with just comics, I would burn out. If I stuck with just music, I would probably burn out. If I stuck with just games and tech, I would probably burn out. This allows me to share my passions. And I find that there's a lot of overlap there. People that tend to like music sometimes are into comic books, or they're into the tech, or people are into comic books are also into the gaming. So usually 2 out of 3 get hit with most people that enjoy 2 of those 3, and maybe not all 3, but it is what it is. It allows me to spend time with my kids and things that we enjoy too. So with that said, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and until next time, keep it frugal.